What's up, y'all? This is Brave, and I'm back for another review of The Chi. This is season 6, episode 7, and the episode is titled Long Live. You guys, this episode was pretty heavy, but it was really good also, okay? So let's just jump right into it. As you already know, I'm not going to go in the order of the show. I'm going to, match up some of these storylines so that everything makes sense. So let's go ahead and talk about the things that didn't really matter too much. Like, it was cute for what it was, but it wasn't really that important. Let's just talk about Gemma and Maisha, okay? So we see the girls, and Maisha is in the booth, and here comes little Tiara, aka Gemma. She shows up or whatever. She apologizes because she was late, and Maisha is like, "Girl, you always on my head about working, and now you not even showing up on time." So the girls are just wasting studio time because we have to sit through a whole argument. Maisha, she feels away because she just found out that Gemma, she met with Brittany and she wants to work with her. Maisha is like, you haven't even done much for my career and you over here trying to get new clients. And it's like, Maisha, I get it. You feel some type of way because there's a possibility that this other girl might take off and Gemma will also probably put more of her energy into that other person's project. I get it. But then also I understand Gemma because Gemma is using her own money to fund your studio time, which is crazy to me. There's no way my 17-year-old daughter will be telling me that she's going to use thousands of our dollars to fund her little friend's music career. But I'm going to let this storyline rock. So Gemma, she even had to correct Maisha, like, Brittany, her career is a little bit further than yours because this girl has a whole EP already ready to go. So now Maisha, she really feeling away. Baby, she started rapping this song, okay, in the booth, right? Now, for me, it was nothing to brag about. However, Maisha was up in there rapping it like it was the hardest song you ever heard in life. I said, okay, girl, let them know how you feel. So the next time we saw Gemma, she's talking to Jake or whatever, and Britney's EP is playing in the background. Now, y'all, why we got Gemma out here retwisting this boy locks? Like, I'm sorry, the way that they have changed Gemma's character blows my mind, but I'm gonna let her rock. So, he basically told her that she should focus on Maisha's career. But then Jake, he also says that, you need to find an artist that's going to make you some money. Not these new up and coming people who, you're going to have to invest so much time and money into. And I get where he's coming from. However, there's just a tinge of jealousy. You know what I'm saying? Or not even jealousy. There's a tinge of worry that Jake has when it comes to Bakari's sister Brittany. Because first of all, he literally got up with a funky little attitude out of nowhere, and he's just like, make sure that it's working, nothing else. Like, make sure you only working with this girl Brittany, and not getting caught up with her. I said, okay, cool, y'all. I think at some point we gonna see a storyline where Gemma and Brittany, do a little bit more than work. I'm just saying. So, y'all, since we were already there talking about Jake, let's just move on over to Victor. Because we see these two have a conversation, right? At the table at home. And Jake, he basically feels like Victor never opens up to him. But then Victor, he feels like he can't tell Jake everything because he's too young. And I personally agree that, this boy is too young to be exposed to everything. But hell, Jake has been exposed to nonsense and foolishness of the hood since he was a child living with Reg. So, who knows all the things that Jake has seen, okay? So, there you have Victor basically telling his baby brother Jake everything that happened with Duda and the day that they took Q's body, you know, to be dumped, right? Now, at this point, y'all, I want Victor in jail. I really do. I want Victor in jail because at this point, within these past 2 episodes, this man has opened up his mouth to tell anybody and everybody who will listen what happened that day. Because he has already told Fatima, Quincy, Rob, Jake, he partially told Papa Daddy. I'm just like, sir, stop opening your mouth. Please shut up. Like, that's the one thing that you had to do was shut up and you keep talking. So then Jake, he tells his brother that, you're in office because the bitches think you cute and yeah, those are his words, not mine. Um, they think you're cute and that he finally told the truth about his life. And I'm like, sir, what? Like, no. Victor is right. Duda did do some heavy work when it came to getting Victor in the office. So when Victor asks his brother, like, so what would you do in my situation? Jake is like, I wouldn't snitch. I would just leave it where it's at. So then, y'all, we see Victor again. He's at his job. And then there's like a bunch of other people like around the office because everybody has found out that Pastor Stanley has just passed away, right? Now, Victor says that he wants to have a candlelight vigil uh, with no cameras. And I'm just like, okay, I guess that's supposed to make it special because there's no cameras. I don't know, y'all. Victor being in office and having whatever little bootleg position he got, it ain't really interesting. It's not really hitting like they thought it would. So the next time we saw him, Victor, he ends up meeting up with Fatima's friends. He asked them if Fatima may want to start a family with him, but, he's worried because he has a criminal past. Y'all, again, Victor is so aggy, like, at this point, she should have known that you come with a lot of baggage. Because y'all have been dating for months now. Does she literally only know you as Victor? She don't know nothing about Trig? That's crazy to me. And then later on, when he comes home to Fatima, he tells her that they should consider starting a family. And she's like, that's something that I always dreamed about, but I never thought that that would be something that I could, actually have happen. So then she's like, I don't want to be stuck raising a kid by myself. And he's like, no, don't worry about that. I'm going to be there. And my first thought and only thought is, baby, they are about to boot Jake out and go ahead and turn his room into a nursery. I'm like, y'all ain't even put in no effort to raise Jake, really. But you gonna sit up here talking about some, you wanna start a whole family? Good night. Like, I'm sorry, y'all. I just do not like Victor's character or Fatima's because, at least for me, I feel like they are not bringing anything to the show anymore. But we just gonna let them be them, right? Alright, y'all. So, let's just go ahead and move on to, let's see here. Do we want to talk about Keisha now? Yes. Let's talk about Keisha, actually. So, Keisha, when we first saw her on this episode, baby girl is out here packing her bags, okay? Because Pastor Jackson has died, and that was the last straw for her when it comes to Duda. Like, she wants out of this situation right now, and I can't blame her. Emmett is begging and pleading for her to stay, and honestly, I think that she should have left right then and there. But no, she decides that she's going to stay in the guest room, and he has to, figure out how he's going to fix this situation. Now, we do see her send a random text that says, "Can we talk?" Right? I said, girl, what in the Tevin Campbell about to happen? So, next time we saw Keisha, she was talking to Nook. So she tells Nook that, she's scared because Emmett is holding his money for Duda's crew. But Nook, he trying to tell her, like, listen, nothing's going to happen to you, Keisha. He's just holding money. Like, everything's going to be okay, right? Because here's the thing. Nook, he definitely has a soft spot for Keisha because he was like, listen, ain't nothing about to happen to you. And she's like, you can't say that because you've let something happen to me before. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all remember he didn't pick her up at the bus stop. That's how she got kidnapped and all that stuff, right? So he's like, I've apologized for that. And she's like, yeah, I know, but at the end of the day, I just can't be having all this risky stuff happening. So he tells her that, you should talk to Emmett. But she's like, no, I've already had a conversation with Emmett. Now I'm talking to you. I need for you to promise that my family will be safe. And he's like, I don't want to make a promise that I cannot keep. And she tells him that, he has to have her back. And look, he does say that he has her back. Like he wants to ride for Keisha right now. And when she told him, like, if you have my back, that means you have to have Emmett's back too. I was just like, ugh, I can't lie. I kind of want Keisha and Nook back together, y'all. Don't judge me, don't judge me, don't judge me. It's just something about it. I like it. I like Nook and Keisha. There's just something about it. Like, Emmett just don't hit no more. Like, Emmett has changed so much, and I don't really like what he done changed into. But nonetheless, we gonna move on because we gotta get to this therapy stuff. So, Keisha goes to therapy, right? And she's talking about how Emmett never listens to her. And the therapist, she's like, how'd you grow up with your parents? And according to Keisha, her dad basically controlled everything when he was actually still married to the mom. And the therapist, she's like, okay, well, that's probably why you want to be equal in your relationship because you've seen your mom not be able to, vocalize how she wants things and all that type of stuff, right? So then she goes on to tell her how, Keisha, you're probably trying to take control because you're trying to take the control that your mom never did, right? And Keisha's like, am I doing too much when I'm doing all of this? And honestly, y'all, the answer is yes, but we gonna, just let her rock out. So Keisha then talks about how her mom, she gets into a lot of arguments now, though, with her current partner. Just keep in mind, Nina has been, arguing with Dre for years at this point. You know what I'm saying? And now she catches herself because she be doing the same thing to Emmett, just constantly arguing and all that foolishness, right? And the only thing that I can say about this whole situation for me, though, is the fact that Keisha and Emmett, they are just dating. They're not married. They have no obligations to each other. Like, for real, for real. And, like, I just really want more for Keisha. I feel like we never got to see Keisha thrive. And being with Emmett, it still ain't working. But nonetheless, she wants her relationship to be better with Emmett. So the therapist actually suggested, like, hey, maybe you should bring your mom to the next session or whatever. And Keisha, she's like, I just want my therapy to be about me. I don't really want to bring her into this. But the therapist does tell her, like, listen, I think that your mom may have been your first case of heartbreak. And until you, have that resolved, you're going to continue this pattern that you're already in, right? And I must agree with the therapist because there's definitely a disconnect between Nina and her children. I feel like her kids may have wanted her, to be around more. However, Nina, well, for what we have seen, Nina has been very selfish, all about herself, and all about whoever her partner is. It has never been about her kids, ever. Not a one time, okay? Oh, but baby, we about to get into it. So we actually see the session between Nina and, what's her name? Nina and Keisha. First of all, they were sitting so far apart, okay? I said, look at how much tension there is in the room. Look at that. And Nina, she's already starting off with lies, y'all. Talking about I did everything I could to be a good mother. Ma'am, we witnessed you completely ignore your kids because you were too focused on your own dating life. Like, we literally witnessed it. Kevin needed therapy years ago. Years ago. Keisha needed support years ago. Please stop playing with us. Like, I know that there aren't many parents on this show, but I can understand certain people saying that they did their best. Like, for example, if Jada was to say how she did her best trying to raise Emmett, I'm not even gonna knock her. She was literally a single mother, you know what I'm saying, trying to show him the way. Remember, she had to put him out because he kept playing around at her house. Like, I get it. Or, you know what? Papa's dad, right? If Papa's dad was to say, I tried my best to be a good father, I believe him. We witnessed him try. He always was there for Papa, trying to guide Papa. Like, that makes sense. But Nina? Girl, please. So, next thing you know, Nina, she is like feeling away because she doesn't want to listen to someone tell her what she could have done better as a mom when she did the best that she could as a single mother. Which I get it. We weren't there, okay? We don't exactly know what your circumstances were, and we were not there. All right, fine. I'm gonna give you that. Now, Keisha, she felt like, as kids, her and Kevin needed more attention, and they only got what was left of her when she got home from work. You guys, unfortunately, some people may not agree with what I'm about to say, but I kind of feel like, what do y'all be wanting y'all parents to do? Because here's the thing, I know that right now we are in a space of saying that, being financially stable for your kids, like, that's not the most important thing, right? But unfortunately, we do still live in a society where working a 9 to 5 is the standard. That is the standard of living. You are going to work 8 hours a day so that way you can afford to put food on your table. And when you think of like having kids, you know what I'm saying? You are at work most of the time. And by the time you get off of work, the only thing that y'all can do together is eat dinner and everybody gonna take a shower and go to bed. And it's very unfortunate. And honestly, what makes this even harder is the fact that at some point, in Nina's storyline, she was a single mom. So it was just her. She had nobody else to lean on. Like, it wasn't like, she could just be a stay at home mom. That wasn't an option for her. She had to work. So, in that regard, I will give Nina a little bit of grace. Because at the end of the day, like, even though we did want our parents, to spend more time with us, that wasn't even a realistic circumstance. I just gotta throw that out there. But y'all, let's go ahead and move back into the storyline. So the therapist, she told Nina to share a truth of her own that Keisha doesn't know about. Baby, why she do that? So Nina, she says that, she was taught that to, be an adult and all this stuff, you had to go find a good man, start a family, but those were never her dreams, okay? Those were her mom's dreams. What she actually wanted to do was explore the world, explore her sexuality, like all these like other things. And Keisha's like, why didn't you do that? Well, girl, that wasn't the standard of life back then. Like, sometimes I just be wanting people to realize that, like, going to see the world, especially the way people are traveling now, again, that is a newer concept. Like, people used to literally graduate from high school, get a job, okay? Get a job, or maybe they went off to college. But here's the thing, after you got some type of job or career going for yourself, you were supposed to work those jobs for decades upon decades upon decades, and then you're supposed to travel after you retire. Am I tripping, or was that not the thing that was taught to people? So what Nina did was try to fulfill that American dream of, you get married, you have kids, you get the white picket fence and a dog, okay? Even though most of her stuff crumbled, that is what the standard of life was at one point. So again, I can't exactly knock Nina in this moment because times were just very, very different. Okay. So nonetheless, after that happens or whatever, um, we actually find out that Nina didn't even want to be married. She didn't want to be married. She didn't even want to have kids. But I feel like once the kids came along and the relationship came along, she accepted it, even though that's not exactly what she dreamed that her life would be, right? Baby, why she say that? Because that hurt Keisha. That hurt Keisha so bad that her mom did not want her. And I don't. Here's the thing. I feel like it's not that Nina did not want Keisha specifically. It's that when she planned her life out, when she was probably 17, 18 years old, she thought that she would be living a total different lifestyle. I think that most people, when they plan out their life when they're like 16, 17 years old, if you ask them what their life is going to look like in 10 years, most of them, their life don't look like that because life has happened to them. Different things have happened. Some people have ended up pregnant. Some people have done this, done that. And life does not pan out how you dream for it to be sometimes. So I don't think that her mom was just saying, like, Keisha, I don't want you. I think her mom, she, got grown. She met a man, fell for him, got married, and did what the typical thing to do is start a family. But Keisha, she was hurt. I can't lie. If I was to hear that, I would be hurt as well. I'm just trying to, add some context for both sides. Because when it comes to Keisha, to hear that, your mom didn't even want kids, so then things start to make sense to you in your head that, oh, so she only loved us out of obligation. She only did things for us because it was an obligation. It's not that she truly, wanted to do these things. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, they both feel away, okay? And my whole thing was, I don't exactly know how they are going to, make a comeback from this situation. Like, when the healing start? Because I don't see no healing coming after this. But we gonna see, y'all. Now, we gotta talk about Emmett now. Because Emmett, he ends up having a conversation with his dad. And they talk about how Keisha almost left his ass. And then Emmett goes on to tell his dad that, he's not doing anything illegal. But, of course, him being tied to Duda is just too close in proximity. So Keisha wants him to completely cut ties with Duda. And Darnell, he's like, so how are you going to be able to do that? And Emmett, he just casually says, he's going to buy himself out. Again, Emmett, you don't have enough money to buy yourself out in this situation. You don't even know how much it costs. But we're just going to let you dream big. Because Darnell tells him, how about you figure out how much it costs and then we'll work on this together. I'm like, look at Darnell. He is doing his best to try to be there for Emmett, okay? He may not have been there in those formative years, but Darnell is right by his son's side every step of the way as an adult. So the next time that we see Emmett, y'all, he decides to storm into the lounge looking for Duda. And Nook is like, I already talked to Keisha. She handled everything. And Emmett is like, what do you mean? Like, he feeling away. And I'm just like, well, listen, you weren't moving fast enough, so Keisha had to do what she had to do, okay? So then later on, we see him, Emmett, he's helping Kevin pack up his apartment, right? Now, Kevin, he's excited to be moving to LA, and I'm happy for him. And honestly, this was the cutest moment for me. It was when Kevin, he said to Emmett that, he's always going to be his big brother because he was always there for him. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And Emmett, he tells him that he's only one call away. They actually give each other, a really big hug and tear up a little bit. I'm just like, you know what? See, that I love to see. That's one thing about The Chi. I love the small sentimental moments. Now, y'all, here's the thing about Keisha and Emmett, right? We saw them when we got to the funeral for Papa's dad, right? And they over here getting into it because Emmett is like, if you ever talk to Nook again, when I'm not around, I'm gonna be done with you or whatever. And she has to check Emmett like somebody has to do the protecting of the family around here because clearly it's not you. And you know what? In that moment, I couldn't even knock Keisha because Emmett, you ain't really doing much, okay? You are barely, and I mean barely, trying to figure out a way that you can go ahead and stop having to lean on Duda so much, okay? Now, y'all, let's just go ahead and move on to, I think let's talk about Shad, right? So we see him, right? He is on the couch with Deja, but she's asleep on the couch, right? She's asleep. Now someone is breaking into their house. So what does he do? He goes to the vent, opens it up, grabs a gun out of the bag, and whoever the person was, he scared them off, right? Now when he comes back in the room, Deja is completely shaken up, like what is going on? You know what I'm saying? And now for some reason she thinks that he's dealing drugs out of her house. I said, girl, that's where your mind went? So Shad, he tells her that, he's holding the guns for somebody. Like, he's not dealing drugs. He left that life alone. But she's like, no, you got to get these guns up out of my house. Baby, his response was that, listen, these guns just protected us. And I can't even knock him for saying that because it was the truth. But she tells him that he has to get rid of the guns tonight. He has to. So then we see Shad roll up on Bakari, okay? He has the guns in the bag and he tells him he can't do this anymore. Now, Bakari is like, I get it. You don't want to mess up what you got going on, right? And Shad now is all up in his face. Like, well, it's too late for that now. I'm sorry, sir. That's on you. You were so money hungry that you decided that you were going to hold on to these guns. Nobody technically put a gun to your face to say that you had to do it. They just threw a little bit of money at you and you took the bait. That's on you. And what bothers me the most about this whole situation is you out here getting mad at Bakari when, no offense, but some of y'all should have been helping Bakari a long time ago so he wouldn't even be this deep into the situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, why didn't y'all try to help rescue Bakari from the streets months ago when y'all was all working at Rock? Remember that? Um, so then he basically tells Bakari, don't take it to the pastor's house because that man will roll over in his grave if you bring them guns up in his house, right? And Bakari's like, no, I wouldn't dare, take them there. And I was like, okay, well, where you gonna take them? Because you only really got one other place to go. And I was right. So the next time that we actually saw um Bakari, when he was just by himself, he put up on Lene, right? So he gets to her house or whatever, and she's like, you can't stay here because she thought it was like an overnight bag. And he's like, oh no, I'm not here, to stay. I need you to hold something for me. And she's like, what is it? What do you want me to hold? Like, she's trying to ask all these questions, but Bakari's like, no, like, I can't tell you what's in this bag. I just need you to hold it for me. Like, don't touch it. You know what I'm saying? Just hold it for me. I promise you, I'm not trying to, like, bring you into this drama, this hood stuff, but I literally have nowhere else to take this stuff, right? So at first, Lene is like, no, 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 no. But then she ends up giving in and telling him, just go ahead and put it in my closet, right? And my only thought was, please do not let Nina or Dre be going through her stuff and the guns fall out or something like that. Like, that would be the worst, okay? But y'all, actually, I have to circle back because there was more things that happened with Bakari. Okay. Um. So first things first, we have Bakari walking up on Nook. Okay. Baby boy is an emotional wreck. Like he has put a gun to Nook's throat, and Bakari is like, I have killed somebody before. Baby, this ain't new to me. It is what it is. But Nook is telling him, like, no, you shot him in the back. You're not about to shoot me in the face, okay? You ain't that bold. So now we have Bakari who's pointing the gun at Nook. Keep in mind, Zay is standing right there, and he has the gun on Bakari. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is too much. Way too much for me. Nook, he says that he had to do it because the pastor was talking too much. And Bakari, he should trust them because they're a part of his crew. So Nook is like, if you ever pull a gun on me again, I'm going to kill you. So at that point, Bakari, he just walks away. And Zay, of course, he still has his gun pointed on him, saying, I can take him out right now. I can go ahead and kill him. And Nook is like, no, you're not about to do that. Put your gun down. Now, y'all, for me, Zay is just a little too trigger happy, and he's too eager to be working with Duda. Something ain't right about that boy. Now, y'all, let's slide on over to Papa, because we actually started the episode off with Papa. We saw him at his dad's church. He's like breaking down and crying. And we did happen to see Jake and Kevin. They showed up to support him, but he tells him that he wants to be alone. And, they tell him that, they love him and they're always going to be there for him. And then, you guys, at another point in the show, no, actually right behind that, I want to say Bakari had came in, right? And when Bakari came in, him and Papa, they basically got into it because Papa was like, I know it was one of your boys who did this. And Bakari, he don't know what to do, what to say. He's just like, maybe your dad should have just went on ahead and washed the money or whatever, and they wouldn't have, like, killed him. Baby, in this moment, I just feel so bad for Bakari because the man who was like a dad to him was just killed by his own crew. Like, that is crazy. So, the next time that we saw Papa, he was actually with Kenya, and they were just sitting down at his house, and he was just giving her the cold shoulder, okay? Every time she would say, do you want to do this? Do you want me to be here? He just gave her all this attitude. So she decides to go ahead and leave because he told her she can go. And when she did leave, before she walked out, she's like, listen, I'm not about to let you make me feel like crap just because that's how you feel. So his response to that was, well, listen, girl, the last time that I spoke to my dad, we got into an argument, and the argument was actually about you, sweetheart. And he was right. I don't need to try to be responsible for you and your son. Well, he didn't say all that, but that's basically what the conversation was about, right? So what did she do? She decides that she's just going to storm out because, that hurt her little feelings. Because I guess she actually did like Papa. But girl, you should have known that this wasn't going to work out. Now, I feel like they might try to revisit this relationship later on in the series, but we gonna see. All right, now, y'all, let's just slide on over to Duda real quick because we saw him playing a game of chess, right, with Nook. And Zay is just sitting there talking about yeah, when you gonna teach me how to play? When you gonna teach me how to play? Sir, hop on YouTube and find out how to play chess. Sit down somewhere. But nonetheless, Duda is basically telling, what's his name? Nook, that sometimes you have to sacrifice the ones you love in order to win the game. And of course, he wins the game of chess, right? Now, I feel like Duda, he may know that Nook has a soft spot for Keisha, and I feel like that's going to be a problem, okay? But y'all, let's jump on over to the funeral for Pastor Stanley. Now, before the services, I believe this had to have been like the wake, maybe. We got a chance to see Bakari. He is standing over Stanley's body and he is like boo-hoo crying. And He's apologizing because, he never wanted all of this to happen. You know what I'm saying? Bakari is taking this very hard. And Papa, he ends up walking up and he's like, my dad, he loved you like his own son. And they talk about what the dad was saying to both of these boys because Bakari didn't have on a tie. And then I can't remember what Papa's thing was that he didn't do. But nonetheless, they talked about how, he wanted the best for them. And honestly, it was a beautiful moment, especially once they started to hug. I was like, you know what? I love to see when the black boys give each other a hug on this show. I really do. We saw it with Kevin and Emmett, then we saw it with these two. So now, y'all, we get to the funeral, right? I'm not sure if I mentioned it, how Keisha and Emmett, they got into it at the funeral because he felt some type of way that she went and talked to Nook without him. Sir, get over it. So, Douda, he shows up, y'all, to this funeral. And baby, this entire scene reminded me of the movie The Five Heartbeats. Y'all remember when Big Red, he walked up to Diane Carroll's character and then he tried to give his condolences? I feel like Douda just did the same thing with Papa Mama, and baby girl was not having it. She did what? Kicked him right on out of the funeral. So we see him and his boys leave, and I must say, they clean up nice, okay? Douda gonna have him and his boys looking good, okay? But nonetheless, kicked him out. So they have this guy, he's up there singing, and then Papa, he goes up there and he gives the eulogy. And I mean, baby boy is breaking down. And it was good to see that Kevin and Jake, they went up there to support him, you know what I'm saying? And out of nowhere, y'all, as this man is speaking about his father, guess who decided to stroll in there hella late? Kenya. I said, girl, go sit in the back. Because why did you decide to stroll your ass all the way to the front? That made no sense to me. I'm like, go sit in the back. You're late. It's embarrassing. And you ain't never met this man. Get out the way. Nonetheless, this is one thing that stood out to me, y'all. I know that the kids wanted to be involved. You know what I'm saying? Like they carried the casket. However, that casket was leaning a little bit too forward and too close to the ground for me. Like, where was Trigg and Rashad at? Darnell could have been a pallbearer. Hell, Emmy could have been a pallbearer. I'm trying to figure out where were all those people. But nonetheless, that was pretty much the episode, y'all. Now, I believe that the next episode is going to be the mid-season finale. And y'all, I'm so ready for it. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. And go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to y'all in my next review. Bye, guys.